Welcome back, everybody, to another edition here of the Auburn Undercover podcast, the Postgame Pod. Nathan King, joined here by Jason Caldwell. It is still Tuesday night.
Barely.
We've only got 25 minutes left until it is midnight. It was a late tip, 8 p.m. tip, and one that had a very long second half, some technical fouls, some reviews, ended up going late into the night. But as the night went on, Auburn just kind of seemed to get better. 98-70, number one Auburn rolls over Oklahoma. Jason, this was a game where Auburn was favored by a lot. I think it ended around 17.5. And this team was able to just kind of show off their strengths. It was a performance where, as you noted after the game, you only get 2 points, no field goals from Janai Broome in the second half. I think that just speaks to everything we've sort of come to expect from this team in terms of their depth.
Yeah, I mean, you scored 54 points, and Broome has 2 on 2 free throws. Doesn't have a field goal in the second half, and he scored 54 points. That's pretty incredible to think about it. I think I went back and looked, and Chad Baker-Mazara, Denver Jones, Todd Pettiford, and Chaney Johnson. They combined for the same amount of points as Oklahoma scored in the second half, just those 4 guys. And they scored 36 between them. And I thought there was a stretch there, about 14-minute mark of the second half. It got down to 12.
Yeah.
Auburn was kind of scuffling a little bit. And you thought, man, is this team going to let another team hang around? And then boom, boom, boom. Denver Jones hits a couple of threes. Todd hits a 3. And all of a sudden you look up, it's a 21-point lead, and the game's over with. And so I thought they did a good job of showing, and I wrote about it a little bit, showing the killer instinct that maybe been missing a little bit.
Sure.
And to do it with your third game in 6 days, I thought that was pretty impressive. That was a team that had energy, and defensively they got after in the second half. To do that, again, 3 games in 6 days, I thought was really impressive.
Last 3 games, really. I mean, to an extent, you've seen sort of that response from this team. LSU never really made it interesting, but they had a couple moments that surged, and Auburn punched back immediately. Ole Miss, I mean, that was the theme of that game, was anytime it got down to single digits, got down to one possession, Auburn had an answer. I mean, I thought there in the second half, things started sort of cascading in Auburn's direction. Porter Mosier talked about it after the game. He said when Janai Broome went 0 of 2 at the foul line, but they get possession, I think it went out of bounds, and Denver Jones hits a 3. He's like, okay, well, that's a 3-point swing when Janai didn't make anything. It was those kickouts that I thought played a really big role in this game. We talked about Janai Broome, obviously Chaney Johnson. I thought this was a really good game for him to come back and kind of surge back to form there on the inside. But defensively, Jason, I mean, 98 points. Bruce Pearl said it after the game. He said, don't pay much attention to the offense. Oklahoma's not elite defensively. Shutting down this Oklahoma team, season low shooting percentage, really, really impressive against a team with a lot of explosion there in the backcourt.
Yeah, and I thought defense keyed offense.
Right.
We saw that where they got, coming out of the second half, you get a couple of shot clock violations, so you get extra possessions. We saw them getting more field goal attempts. And I thought they did a good job. Auburn didn't turn it over very much, and so you kept possession. You created some turnovers. I think they had 20. It was 11 in the first half, 9 in the second half. So create 20 turnovers against this Oklahoma team, ball pressure, and you got an elite shooter, a couple of guys that can really shoot it, and you didn't let them get untracked. And they frustrated those guys all night long. And we talked about it, the ability to have – Todd Pettiford has become a really good defender. Miles Kelly has become a really good defender. You know what Denver Jones is. You know what Chad Baker-Mazara is. Auburn's got 4 elite perimeter defenders, and when you have that type of guy, you can run a different guy at somebody every time. That showed up tonight, and I thought it really frustrated Oklahoma.
Yeah, Jeremiah Fears, who is by the way, 18 years old, was supposed to be in the next recruiting class, reclassified to be a freshman. Probably going to be a lottery pick. He goes 1 of 8. Thought they did a really good job matching up against him. Jalen Moore was really effective early, and then really after that technical foul that he got, Auburn kind of shut him down the rest of the game. He was only 5 of 12, like I mentioned. 33% is the lowest for Oklahoma all season. They came in leading the SEC in a number of shooting categories. 11 blocks for Auburn in this game, 6 for Dylan Caldwell. Janai Broome, we mentioned, only 2 points in the second half, didn't make a field goal in the second half, but another game where he just stuffs the stat sheet. 3 blocks and 3 steals, as well 9 steals for Auburn as a team. It's going to sort of draw some of the attention. There was 2 technical fouls on Auburn in the second half, Chad Baker-Mazara and Miles Kelly. There was one on Jeremiah Fears for Oklahoma as well. But I think you wrote about, I thought it was a really apt comparison by you after the game, that Chad Baker-Mazara is kind of that Marshall Henderson presence for this team. If you have him, you love him. If you don't have him, he's everyone's favorite player to hate. It made, I told Patrick, I was like, well, this is one way to make an 18-point game interesting in the second half, is really get the crowd into it. I thought the officials kind of lost control.
A little bit.
Maybe a little bit of it, and maybe should have kind of calmed things down before that. But that was obviously a storyline, and, you try to reel in Chad Baker-Mazara a little bit, but that's the player he is, and he
Correct.
gives you that emotion.
He does, and you feed off that, and that's the thing. I mean, Auburn, the team, they feed off that emotion from him because that's who he is. And so, like I said, if he's your guy, you love it. And so, I think it did it. Even though for a second you look and go, man, that's an unfortunate timing for this. Can you get back in it? They don't make free throws. You come down and boom, 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 and you knock the game open. So it honestly, it spurred Auburn on a little bit. And so I thought, there was so many guys, and it's the story of this team. But you look at Chris Moore again, a couple of big baskets in the first half to kind of kickstart that 10-point lead there to end the first half, and then you look at just talking about Dylan Caldwell, but I thought Chaney Johnson again. I thought this was a game he had a chance to break out because Oklahoma's not a really long physical team, and now you look and Florida is a big long physical team, but Chaney's an explosive leaper and really quick. It may be another game for him where he has a chance to get to the lane and make some shots, and so hard to ask much more. 98-70 win over an Oklahoma team that can score.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, Bruce Pearl said after the game, Florida, he's called them now multiple times this season the most physical team in the SEC. We've now seen Auburn out-rebound 4 straight opponents. I think we've sort of seen them take on that challenge. Going all the way back to the South Carolina game, I mean, Dylan Caldwell used the words punked in that game. You see the aggression, and that was the word you used after they won at LSU.
Yeah.
And that, again, they're taking advantage of teams that are not very big. They don't rebound very well, but you see that aggression, some one-armed rebounds. Todd Pettiford getting in there and mixing it up. They're really going to need
the basketball.
You're really going to need that against Florida. But I thought team high 8 rebounds today for Chaney Johnson. So thought they're continuing to do a good job of trying to be physical on the glass.
Yeah, and doing it. Janai Broome is still. I mean, if he's more than 70%, I'd be shocked. I still don't think he's close to being anywhere what he was before this ankle injury. The hard part is it's tough to get there when you're playing basketball games. They haven't had a lot of time off. The break came while he was hurt. So, now that he's back, I thought there was probably a little soreness because of how many games they played. You get a little bit of break. You get to sleep in your bed now, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night to get to Saturday. I'll be interested to see if Janai Broome is closer to having some of that explosive lift back, because he still doesn't have it. He still really looks like he's playing on one leg, and he's still able to do the things he does.
Yep.
And so if you can get him back rolling and physically rolling, then you add to what Auburn is right now. And man, this is a team that, again, showed right tonight that they're the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game where you should have taken care of business, and you added on these elements of shutting down Oklahoma as a tremendous defense, continuing to rebound the ball well. 3-point shooting, they missed a lot of open looks early, and then just started cascading with it in the second half.
As soon as they, Denver Jones, other than one turnover, didn't miss anything. I mean, he was plus 26 in 27 minutes. One turnover, didn't miss a shot. Perfect from the floor, perfect from 3, perfect from the free throw line, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. I mean, well, you get that point guard play from him. Todd Pettiford really played well in the second half. That was a game where when Miles Kelly didn't shoot it. They did this without Miles Kelly shooting the ball very well. That's what this team is, though. It's a different person every night and multiple people, and those guys showed up.
Yeah, and Bruce Pearl alluded to it after the game, saying he took Janai Broome out with about 5 or 6 minutes left. Now, it was a really big lead, but he alluded to it. He's like, hey, let's have him sitting on that ankle. So I think you're exactly right. This stretch was difficult. Maybe the opponents weren't as heavy. Ole Miss on the road was a great win. But timing, 3 games in 6 days. Now you're on the back end of it, saying you got a home game on Saturday. You've got all this time to rest. Until then, Florida played tonight at home as well. So equal sort of footing here. Going to be another big one on Saturday against another top 10 team in Florida when the Gators come to town. 98-70, Auburn takes down Oklahoma here inside Neville Arena. For Jason Caldwell, I'm Nathan King. Thank you guys for joining us on the Postgame Pod. We'll talk to y'all soon.